since it's a bunch of lawyers now coming up to talk to us about this, how do you suggest, or do you suggest you want to respond to all these comments? I mean, there's a limit to what we're doing for the full council. I mean, if there's something that concerns you, let me know. Chris?
Obviously, I would defer to the chair and Mr. or Vice Chair and Mr. Johnston on this, but I think it's important that Martha run through at least her understanding. It's nice that stakeholders are coming up and expressing their understanding of how things should work, but since we're at a point where we're near reaching some kind of consensus, I think that a meeting of the minds is important, especially on this issue with regard to timing and the toolbox of information that's out there now. So that would be my only suggestion, obviously subject to your better judgment.
Well, we're not going to take every recommendation or suggestion and incorporate it. We're going to listen and acknowledge if there's a fatal flaw or a key error, we'll consider it, but ultimately and hopefully today the council will take action with either adopting this or some amended form of this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just a quick clarification. When does other council members make a decision about or want to see whether or not that fits into what we have here, that we hear from the podium?
Well, when the council votes to give instructions to the staff of what the Delta plan, which will be circulated for comment, looks like, if there are 4 votes to do that, then it goes out. The council members who are not here will see it at the next meeting, or they'll get it before, of course, but it's all public, and it'll all be public information reflected on the website.
Yeah, I guess what I'm asking, I know there will be other speakers coming before. I'd like to hear staff reaction to some of the suggestions, or if council members have some reaction to it.
Here, this is Mr. Fiorini's and Mr. Johnston's production, and my instinct is they will respond to comments, not every comment, but the comments they choose to respond to. And if they wish to make clarifications of this proposal, they will suggest clarifications of this proposal. But this is not a circumstance, and at least in my judgment, it's not a circumstance where either Mr. Fiorini or Mr. Johnston have to respond to each and every point raised by each and every speaker because they want to have it responded to. That is not required. No. This is their proposal.
And let me thank both of the council members for doing that, but that wasn't really my question.
No, okay.
My question was, when speakers come up to speak, I would like to hear staff. I'm not referring to council members. I'd like to hear staff and council members who put it together wanted to respond, and other council members. I think that makes sense to react to, because we're down to the wire in terms of what we are going to vote on. And so I would like to hear a response from staff and council members, how they feel about whatever is suggested from other people.
I'm perfectly happy to do that if that's your desire, Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you.
I would point out, when we vote today, this is not the final time you will see this. The vote that the council does is to send this through the review process, the environmental review process, with a 45-day comment period, and through the administrative law process, which will have its own 45-day comment period. Mm-hmm. And my expectation is when this in particular, on all of the policies, come back to you, you will undoubtedly be asked again to look at tweaking them based on the information you receive from the environmental review and from the administrative law comment period. Yeah. So you got to live with this probably another 6 months. Sorry.
Yeah, and thank you, Joe, for saying that. But again, I think because we're looking at this document as being as final as it can be, I think it makes sense to kind of react to some of the comments so that we know how to give direction, how the council is feeling and the staff is feeling as we look at some final direction on this particular item or any item.
Well, why don't we just do this? We're going to get a lot of comments from a lot of people. We'll all write down the ones that we think are worth a response to, and then let's council members raise them. That's the only way we can really proceed, because this is a motion proposed by council members to be voted on by council members.
Right.
So I think all of us are advised to write down highlight points and questions and raise them as you see appropriate. And then Mr. Fiorini and Mr. Johnson or staff would respond as
Right.
deemed appropriate.
Mr. Chair, just if I could, just to Randy or Pat, anything that Mr. Mills said that you would care to respond to at this point in time? Okay. Randy?
No, I heard John say that if his understanding of the intent is as he has taken it, he's pretty good with it. I wanted to clarify that this new requirement to identify the expected outcome for measurable reduction needs to be quantified. He's asked is that going to occur immediately or at the next regular update? And I think our intent is that it would occur at the next regular update.
And then does it call for examples, though? So you talked about this yesterday, Martha. Will you have different examples now of how this might be applied based upon the language that's at least being offered here, or will your examples be? Because you'd have some ideas of, water
Yes.
district X doing Y. Here's what the plan would, would call
Exactly.
for.
The examples would be largely the same. I can't see, in terms of just what we're asking people to do as examples of what the goal is, and how through their urban water management plans they would be contributing to the achievement of the goals. And I would like to also concur with Councilman Fiorini that because people have already approved their urban water management plans, and they're really in the process of doing their first agricultural water management plans, it is realistic to ask them to add the quantification in the 2015 plans.
Okay.